Hello and welcome everybody to New Earth Consciousness. Tanya here, and I'm sitting with Paul Coffey, and he is a martial artist. So he is well trained in Kung Fu, Tai Chi, and Wing Chun.
Wing and Chun. Wing
I've
Chun.
never heard of that before.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I'm really excited to have you here, Paul. So thank you for being with us. And yeah, we're going to dive deep into really healing from trauma, essentially,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because you have spent a lifetime studying the martial arts, but um, it really was to, I'm feeling like it was like your path to reclaiming safety, a sense of safety and
Hmm.
autonomy and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so you had some really big traumas just from the get-go. You were born with a birth defect.
Hmm.
And do you want to talk about that, share that with the
Sure.
listeners?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was born with pectus chest, which is a condition where your breastplate is growing inward onto your heart and your lungs, being kind of crushed to death by my own body. When I had the surgery to correct that, I was 2 years old, and they said if I waited any longer, that my chest would crush me to death and I would die. But they didn't know if I was going to make it through the surgery because they had never done a surgery on anybody that young at the time. So, and the operation is cutting you open in the center and putting a metal bar in and lifting you up, fake cartilage, and then a year later they take it out by your breast.
They take it
So,
out. Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The bone grows back? Is that what happens?
Yeah,
Wow.
bone and cartilage goes back, and then your mom gets to use it as a keychain if she wants to.
Oh my God.
No,
No.
so
Oh my gosh. You're funny. Yeah, amazing. Wow. So, do you have, being that young as a 2-year-old, do you have memories of that?
yes,
You do.
yes. So memories are trauma based, and I'm like proof of that. My grandfather died when I was 1.5, and I remember he is my earliest memory. And it doesn't really have anything to do with like me in pain in that moment. It's just because pain is a receptor for memories. But I do remember like kind of crawling, staggering toward the basement and the door shutting in my face, looking up and seeing an arm and him saying that you have no business down there. So that's pretty cool. But I have a lot of memories of just as a child kind of running around as children do, but then passing out and falling because I didn't have enough air.
Well,
So,
well, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty young, I feel like to
mhm,
have those kind of memories at
mhm,
such an early age. So so having that and
mhm.
going through that, which then but then you also you basically were sexually abused by your uncle that started that, right?
So, that healing journey for me took really into about second grade
Mhm.
because just it was so drastic. I remember being sick for stints of time. I missed 56 days on my kindergarten year consecutively because I was in the hospital dehydrated and whatever. In my book that I'm writing, I talk about that time and about specifically remembering at like I think at that point in time I was either 5 or 6, remembering that this is probably the end of my life and being okay with that. And
Oh
like
wow.
that's
So
wild to remember
okay.
that at that age.
Yeah, so I jumped forward too quickly because that surgery it it took years then for you to
Hmm.
heal from that.
Yes. Yeah.
How old were you when they took out the
They put the bar in me. I was just over 2 years old, like 26 months. And then they took it out literally a year after they had put it in.
Okay.
And so like that whole year, my parents talk more about how that was a very dicey year. And like, I had a big scar and a lot of like as a young kid asking a lot of questions, why does this hurt? This hurts. And
Hmm.
um I still have some structural pain, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. Um, but the whole year it was like, well, your body could reject the bar. It could, there were a lot of variables.
Yeah.
So that year I wasn't allowed to do anything really. And, but I eventually recovered, eventually bounced back, was never allowed to participate in school sports of any sort. So, like, I was a kid that wasn't allowed in elementary school to play on the playground.
Oh,
I
wow.
was I was exempt from all PE classes
Wow.
because overexertion could have led to any number of things because of the way that my chest was, oh, this is gonna, okay. So most people heart is here.
Yeah.
My heart is actually on my left side. So when I pledge allegiance, my hand is actually over my heart
Literally.
because it had shifted a little bit. But
Hmm.
I had a heart murmur that was a fake heart murmur from where my breastplate was resting on my heart, and that made the valve thicker to move. And so then when you removed the breastplate, my valve would kind of like buckle
Hmm.
before it opened. So
Hmm.
I had those kind of complications. My last heart appointment, which was like 6 months ago,
Oh,
I no longer have the murmur.
oh, wow.
So
Oh, wow.
so
So
it's
lifelong,
good.
lifelong journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
And so when I was 9, I began being abused by an alcoholic uncle. It was not a sexual situation at first,
Yeah.
but when I was 10 years old, he forced his girlfriend to perform oral sex on me. And then when I orgasmed, he hit me. Um, and that was kind of a breaking point for me. I knew I had to do something, but I couldn't say anything to any of my family because he would repeatedly tell me that if I did, he would kill them.
Oh,
And I believed him.
yeah.
So I kind of had to carry it myself in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Just so happens that like I'm trying to figure out what to do. Huge Batman fan, knew that Batman took martial arts and that was how he beat the bad
Oh,
guys.
wow. Yeah.
And a buddy of mine started martial arts classes uh, the month before my birthday. So the month before my birthday would be March, and he started taking the classes, and I was begging and pleading and begging and pleading, and my parents were like, "No," because of my chest. Just no, you can't do it because they couldn't. They didn't want the risk of if I got hit or what have you, for any of it to be uh, you know, causing more grief than
Yeah.
good. And if it wasn't for my grandfather who said, the boy will be fine, we can do it,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have started martial arts.
That's so extreme, though. It's like, to go from being a kid who can't even just play on the playground to do
Hmm.
something like martial arts, which is very much a contact sport. I imagine
Hmm.
probably not so much maybe in the beginning, but
Hmm.
certainly eventually. So,
Hmm.
I'm curious and so you started at age 10 doing martial arts, or how old were you?
Yes, yes, I was 10.
And I'm curious for you, what was your memories of first taking that first class? I mean, from having been told for a lifetime at that point, like you can't do anything, you're gonna hurt
Well,
yourself. To
so The first problem is that I was being told for a lifetime that I can't do anything, but everybody didn't know for the past year I was getting beat.
Oh, oh my God.
So for the
Right.
past year,
So,
so when they're like, if you get hit, you're gonna die, and I can't be like, that's not true. I know
right.
that that's not true.
Oh my
Do you know what I'm
God.
saying? Like I can't say
Yeah.
that.
No.
But my uncle, he did a lot of things on purpose. So I was kicked in the chest as
Wow.
a child. So
Wow.
from the time I was 9 to the time I was 10, I was kicked there. I knew what that felt like. I knew it did hurt,
Yeah.
um, but it didn't kill me, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a lot of like mental and verbal abuse that went along with the physical abuse. But so by the time I got to 10, I wasn't concerned that anything that would happen to me inside the school would be something I couldn't handle.
Yeah.
What I wasn't prepared for, and what it has, in a way, this has shaped the way that I teach martial arts,
Mhm.
is that I wasn't prepared for the familiar feeling of what it's like to have an adult's hands around your neck,
Mm.
the familiar feeling of being pushed against the wall
Yeah.
or being attacked,
Right.
and I'm in a room with a bunch of other kids. The kids class was 8 or 9 years old to 13.
Yeah.
So like we were all, it was a very close age gap of individuals. So I think people are in a class with people that are all pretty much my same age.
Hmm.
But like you didn't register at 10 years old. You're going to go in there and there's going to be adults that are choking you because they're trying to teach you how to navigate that situation.
Yeah.
And so like you freeze for a second, and then you come back to it. The book that I'm writing is about that martial arts journey. And the thing that I remember the most as I'm reliving it to write it
Hmm.
is that I had to watch other people react to achievement and then mimic that reaction
Right.
because I was still being abused.
Yeah.
So like when I tested for yellow belt or purple belt, I wasn't proud of myself in the same capacity as those other kids were. And so I had to fake that. And so I do remember watching their reaction and mimicking their reaction. Because for me, it was, I still have work to do to learn how to navigate the darkness.
Yeah. So when you say mimic the reaction, are you talking about, I guess because I know that for, I don't know, I'd be curious to find out what the data shows, but whenever someone's encountering um, abuse, whether it's physical or sexual, that oftentimes um, that freeze, right? I know it's true
Hmm.
certainly for a lot of women, especially when it comes to
Hmm.
rape or whatever, that you
Hmm.
freeze and you just,
Hmm.
you don't, your voice shuts down, your body freezes, and you're just fawning or
Hmm.
whatever. And so are you saying that in the class when that you didn't know how to fight back? Was that the unfamiliarity, or
No,
is that what you were mimicking, or
no, I was mimicking things like accomplishment,
I see. Mhm.
because for me, the goal was to try and stop the abuse. So I started when I was 10. When I was 11, I had enough physical confidence, enough technique, or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
that muscle memory kicked in. I was attacked in what is now my bathroom. That's a different story entirely.
Yeah.
And I just defended myself.
Mm-hmm.
He hit the wall twice and hit the floor once, had to have 6 or 7 stitches on his face. He had said in that moment that he didn't know what happened and assumed that he just fell drunk, that he didn't touch me ever again.
Wow.
And so,
And that was when you were 11.
yeah. So
Wow.
from the age of 10 to 11, I'm progressing. By the time I'm 11, I'm a second degree blue belt. So that's 6 ranks. And those 6 ranks, I remember most like people being so very proud
Mm.
of getting yellow belt, purple belt, second degree purple belt, whatever.
Yeah.
And me just being like, I don't get it because it wasn't the accomplishment that I was chasing.
Right.
Um,
Interesting. Yeah, I hear now I'm beginning to understand. Yeah.
and
Because you're
he
approaching for a
also,
totally different reason. It was like
for sure,
really for you, it was about I'm here to really truly protect my my life, and
right,
stop my abuser rather than
mhm,
yeah, rather than accumulating belts.
right. Well, and then there is the bit of victim mentality is the word typically used, and I don't necessarily like that word, but it's really like it's a term that it's used in martial arts to express the fawn or the freeze
Mm,
that exists in victims.
mhm.
And for me, after the point of I stood up to him, I only had to deal with mental and emotional abuse. And that carried on until I was 17 when he killed himself. And, so from the time I'm 11 to the time I'm 17, I'm not living in a freeze or fawn space, but I'm living in this space of perpetual anxiety or perpetual fear that it could continue. Like
Mm.
I fought him once and won, but am I going to have to do it again? Am I going to have to do it, you
Yeah,
know?
you never knew. Yeah.
Right. You know, and from the time I was 10 to the time I was 11, starting martial arts, I was also being beaten by the abuser, and he like upped the level of intensity,
Mm.
saying that what I was learning wouldn't work. And I'm just playing around in pajamas and all that other stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, and if I happen to like be able to block something, he'd just come harder with the other side or the choke or whatever. So,
Wow. Yeah. And so I feel like oh, it's a very, first of all, just sharing your story, I feel is so important for people to hear. Like, do you
mhm,
find it for yourself that, of course, it seems to me in someone's journey in healing trauma, it's like, I'm curious, like, at what point did you feel called or, to speak about it or felt like, okay, I'm going to let my story out? I mean, I can imagine your family, of hearing the truth and all of that. It's almost like what was it that what was the tipping point for you to decide to share?
my family didn't know the whole story until I was 21. I started sharing my story when I was 18.
Hmm.
And so I always tell people that like my martial arts journey is different from everybody else's because from the time I was 10 to the time I was 11, it was about self-preservation. And then at 11, I achieved that, right? And so then at 11, it was still self-preservation, watching around the corner, making sure that it wasn't going to happen again. But also you get to a point to like, oh, this stuff that I've learned really did save me.
Mhm.
And so then I wanted to start teaching because I wanted to give that to other people.
Mhm.
And when I was 18 years old, I was teaching a class that was an adult class at a school. And I was teaching a bunch of students. One of them was this woman who had been with us like a year and a half ish. She was a second degree green belt. She was on her way to, that's the like in Kung Fu,
Mhm.
once you get past green belt, you're on your black belt track, so she's on the way toward black.
Mhm.
And she's a really, really good student, but kind of hard on herself. I recognized where that comes from. And so, like, she would typically like my teaching better because I would be just a little bit more gentle, a
Mhm.
little bit more like, patience, not the right word, but, pacing things out just a little bit
Mhm.
longer.
Mhm.
And this particular day, she like kind of froze in class for a second and then immediately left. And I'm shocked, wanted to make sure that she was okay, that I didn't do anything wrong.
Mhm.
And I took one of my senior students, I had them take the class over and just bolted out to the parking lot. Luckily, she was still there. She was in the car. She trusted me enough. She rolled the window down. We had a conversation. In that moment, she said, "Look, this is the seventh martial arts school I've been to in 9 years. And this is the first one that I really feel comfortable in. I was raped 9 years ago. And I've just been on this journey to try and make sure it doesn't happen again." And I shared my whole story with her in that moment.
Mhm.
We had a little cry, a little hug.
Mhm.
And I said, "Hey, why don't you come back in and not let this moment defeat you and derail you? You don't have to join the class. I'll teach you privately for the rest of the time, and we'll try and work past the frustration or whatever the little trigger was."
Mhm.
So we did that, and that moment was kind of like the deciding moment of like, I have to lead with this story. I have to express it so that other people know that you can heal, you can improve, you can fight your own battle.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Um, the I guess for you, and maybe for your students as well, it's like from what I've come to learn about trauma is that where it gets stuck when there isn't a sense of, you know, justice or um, it has nowhere to go, and like for your student, let's say, or other people that you observed who have dealt with trauma, I feel like um, it's such a trauma to me just seems like it's so what's the word? It's so intangible in a way. It's like when people get triggered, it's oftentimes they don't know necessarily maybe why exactly. I mean, it's such a instinctual response, let's say, to freeze, like the
mhm,
student you
mhm,
described, like she just
mhm.
froze and left, and there's just this overwhelm. Um, what have you felt to be, how did you begin to notice that the trauma that you were holding was beginning to find peace or find resolve in the process of doing kung fu? Or like, I know it's very multi-layered, obviously, but um, I guess like what is it about um, the the physical movements, and really it's the spiritual journey that you were on. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, did you find that in like you got to this point where you were very, obviously you're very in tune with your body, to be
Hmm.
so accomplished, like, all the muscle fibers and how everything works and the
Right,
energy
right,
and
right,
everything,
right.
right? But then
Hmm.
having that moment of then sharing the story
Hmm.
and having this realization of, okay, I need to share this with others. What did you notice, if anything, started to change for you internally and how you viewed that trauma?
I'm gonna say a lot, okay, because from 17 and 18, those 2 years were very big for my healing journey.
Hmm.
Okay. So, first of all, my uncle killed himself. Prior to killing himself, he had a failed suicide attempt where he drove his car. They said it estimated like 50, 60 miles into a tree. He was in an upper body cast, you know,
Hmm.
laid up in my grandmother's bed, mouth wired shut. I was the one that fed him for that month. And I think that, like, that did an awful lot for me because it was an exercise of complete compassion that could only be achieved knowing that I wasn't afraid of him anymore. You know,
Hmm.
knowing that my threat can lay here. He can say whatever he wants to. He can try and get under my skin by saying the same things that he said, at length for a good
Hmm.
portion of my life.
Yeah.
But I could meet that with compassion and provide for him what he needed and couldn't get for himself. So I think that that was the genesis of the start of it.
Hmm.
When I was 17, I had also achieved the black belt in the school that I was in. In order to get second degree black belt, you had to get a black belt in another style. So, already black belt in Kung Fu, the school taught Tai Chi. It was a good transition.
Hmm.
Tai Chi, being an internal art, really helped with calming and releasing all pent up energy. Most anybody that's experienced trauma knows that right here to here, jaw and
Yeah.
shoulder, is where a lot of traumas kept. For me, it was here and here, and then also my chest. Because of my issue, my chest draws in real tight.
Yeah.
And that was that. When I was 18, after he had passed and we had his funeral, there was a bit of peace. I felt a bit of that relaxation. When I started living my truth and telling my students and expressing that to them, every time I did it, it was like an exercise of releasing a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
Wow.
But then one of the things that not very many people are aware of is if you can get this part of your body relaxed and the energy flowing here, the trauma sets into your hips.
Oh,
So
interesting.
then that's usually the second place most people keep it is
Yeah.
hips, lower back
Yeah.
area. And so then it became the Tai Chi practice of releasing that energy from that spot.
Yeah.
So
Man, when you're sharing that, I have to say, it made me remember I too have like major TMJ, and I
mhm,
remember and me growing up was never allowed to express anger ever. Like it's
mm,
just not allowed. I remember trying it once and boy did it not go over well. So I learned to just
mm,
and yeah, I remember, although I have to say, I mean, it wasn't graceful, but there was a moment in a confrontation with my brother, actually, at the time, and this wasn't this was probably 8 years ago, so not that long ago, where I mean, finally, like my anger was just fully expressed. And I
Hmm.
remember having no pain in my jaw for like, I don't know how many days. It was like complete. I was like, oh my God, I feel so
Right.
much better. And it's
Right.
really something. I mean, of course,
Hmm.
there's it's like, when the pendulum swings, like, okay, yeah, it's great to, maybe let it out. But, in retrospect, I'm like, okay, well, there's probably better ways to do it rather than just
Yeah. Yeah.
letting it,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
come out full force like that. But so the Tai Chi, I imagine, just really is probably a much more maybe graceful way or easier way of like, I don't know, I just think of Tai Chi
um,
being so slow and chill, you know?
it can be graceful. It can be, uh, a lot of people think of Tai Chi and they have this image of old people in the park doing Tai Chi.
Yeah,
And what a lot of people don't understand about Tai Chi is it's the foundation of all martial art. Every other martial art technique
yeah.
comes from Tai Chi in some way, shape, or form. And so it can also be hard style. It can also have dynamic tension to it. It is exactly whatever you put into it,
Mhm.
you know? Um, I think it is graceful and rhythmic.
Mhm.
You know, I was in therapy the first time when I was in my mid 20s, and my therapist taught me like different rocking,
Mhm.
because that helps with anxiety and whatever. And he's teaching it to me, and I'm like, this is Tai Chi. I don't
Mhm.
need this. like I appreciate what you're doing, but my instructor who taught me had been doing at the time when he started teaching me probably 30, 35 years of Tai Chi. Right now he's up to 56, 57 years, somewhere in there. Bob, if you're watching the story, I don't have the exact number. But um, he said that good Tai Chi has to have a standing practice, a walking practice, and a sitting practice. And so, like, when you learn Tai Chi from somebody traditionally, the first three things that you learn is how to stand,
Mhm.
how to sit, and how to walk. And it is, can you move while you stand? Can you move properly while you walk? Can you move while you sit? And then you learn, you know,
All
the
yeah.
rest.
Wow, interesting. Um, hmm. There's so much here. It's like I know we're
Right.
only like
Uh,
scratching the surface, but it's like, okay, so yeah, I'm, for those that are listening, it's like, yeah, that was it's really is true. We do store emotions in our body. I mean, I've had the experience of somebody working on my hips and asking me, okay, well, just feel into that, and me just like bursting into tears and feeling the grief that
mhm,
I've been holding there, for example.
mhm.
Um, and so it seems now like the we're finally getting to that point in therapy that, oh yeah, you can't leave the body out when it comes to
Right.
healing, right? Like you can't
Mhm,
just sit there and do
mhm.
talk therapy and tell your story,
Right.
blah 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 blah. It's like,
Mhm.
we actually have to get back in touch with the body, um and there's layers. I mean, did you find that in your process that
Cool.
like there's just layers that kind of peel away?
What I found for me, one, yes, there is layers, but two, I also found that like um in doing the body work, that's where shadow work lied for me. And that's where repressed, like, because over 2 years I was abused. and you kind of remember like the really bad moments and the highlights, but like maybe the first time was blocked out,
Yeah.
or maybe like, you know, and
Mhm.
so then like a good Tai Chi seated practice, you start just feet flat on the floor, hands palm down on your knees, connecting your palms to the floor, connecting your palms to the ground, the root,
Mhm.
standing upright as or sitting upright as much as you can. And then while you maintain upright, it is working your hips back and forth, working your shoulders around, so it's what joints can I move in that capacity?
Mhm.
And when you do that, like you'll almost enter a meditative state and just sort of relive, re-remember. And there are moments where you just break down for no reason.
Yeah. Right.
Or I am fortunate enough that the person that taught me Tai Chi also taught me all of the other forms of medicine Tai Chi. So,
Mm.
like, there's laughing Tai Chi, where
Mhm.
you force yourself to laugh, but the laugh gets the stagnant energy out of the belly,
Yeah.
out of the chest,
Yeah.
or doing what's called rhythmic, where you drum your head, or you drum your heart, or you drum your thighs, and the drumming gets that energy moving, gets that energy out,
Yeah.
and just about pushing it all out,
Yeah.
cleansing.
Yeah. Yeah. Truly, seriously, and your story kind of reminds me a little bit of I don't know if you know of Annika Lucas, but she was a child that was basically inside these pedophile rings, and so she
Mm,
went through a lot of extreme trauma and escaped, but had no memories of what happened
mm,
really until she started doing yoga and just getting
mm,
into the body and started uncovering all of the memories. Um, and interestingly, in it, your story is so remarkable because it's like when you hear that, you were traumatized by your uncle and then the roles flipped where, I mean, the karma, like the whole design of it to me is a divine design. It's kind of how I see it. It's like, wow, like talk about resolving karma in one lifetime.
mhm,
And how this is my beliefs, God being at play in the picture.
mhm, mhm,
Um, she also had that same experience of getting to a point where she could see that, victim, perpetrator, those roles there's something that God is at play somehow. That
mhm.
there's something
Absolutely.
that is being resolved. There's something that um, the dark and the light together are just, reflection of the divinity of everything. Um,
Mhm,
and so I just find it really beautiful that for for you and your uncle, for him to be really forced to be in this position of really receiving care from you.
mhm.
When I'm curious, I mean, I don't know, I don't know if he ever expressed how that was for him or if he was just avoidant.
Yeah, no,
You'll never know.
he didn't
But
express.
but just yeah, it's just such a I mean, that's like what a moment,
Mhm,
what a moment
mhm.
of
No, when he killed himself the second time, he had left a suicide note for me only.
mm,
So
yeah.
he sort of blamed me for a lot of his life
Mhm.
and how his life was.
Interesting.
So he even did that in death.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, in family constellations work, it would it would be, and I don't know if you've ever done that type of work, but it would be interesting to see where this pattern started and where it came from and why he was the way he was. Like, oftentimes there's something in the lineage that is off, who knows?
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
we don't know.
Hmm.
I'm not going to pretend to know, but um,
Right.
anyway, it's just let's see, where do we go from here? So,
Well, I would also share
yeah.
that a year and a half ago, I bought the house where all of this abuse happened. And this is where I live now and am fixing up. It was a home that was built by my grandfather in 1952 and has been in our family ever since. It's also a home that until I took it over hadn't really been updated. So it's very reminiscent of, 1952 in some ways, and in some ways very reminiscent of my trauma. Very cathartic to rip out the walls in the basement where all of the
Yeah.
nasty aspects took place
Hmm.
and sort of putting my own touches on everything as I redo it.
Yeah. And what was the drive behind the decision to do that for you?
There's a lot
Yeah.
there's a lot to that answer, but my grandma, first of all, I have a lot of good memories with my home as well. It's where I was learned how to cook. Grandmother taught me how to cook.
Mm.
You know, it was where I uh, developed my infinity for free thought. She was an avid reader and pushed that on me. She was uh, she was very outspoken politically, and but always said, "I don't want you to believe what I believe because I'm saying it. I want you to see things from both sides and make decisions for yourself." And so very, powerful lessons. And so I got a lot of positive experiences in the house.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
My grandfather, even though he died when I was, not quite two,
Mhm.
he still loved me very much. I knew that he loved me very much.
Yeah.
I'm almost a spitting image of him. If I shave
Yeah.
and you took a black and white picture, put it next to him, you kind of have a hard time saying who's who. Um, and he was tall. I'm 6'5", he was 6'3".
Mhm.
So there's a lot of good with the house. Um, I also, my grandmother passed away. I was living in a condo with a friend of mine. It wasn't a great situation, and I like November before buying the house, I was like feeling a pull at my spirit. It's like you need to move and you need to leave here. This isn't serving you anymore.
Mhm.
Sat down and had a conversation with him. Was like, look, end of the year, I'm going to leave. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move in with my parents for a couple of months. And then I'm going to just get an apartment someplace else. And he's like, okay. Moved in and I put everything in storage and kind of did that. And I remember in January, I felt my grandmother's presence. And my grandmother was a small woman. I'm, like I said, 6'5" and a half. She was 5'6", maybe.
Yeah.
And so in her older age, she would come up and hug me from behind and she'd put her hands on my chest.
Mm.
And I felt that energy.
Wow.
And it pulled me back,
Wow.
took my breath away. I sat down and sat with it.
Wow.
And I felt her presence saying, home is coming.
Wow.
And so
Oh my gosh.
one one of my other uncles
Yeah.
lived in that house.
Mm.
Okay. He died on my birthday, the year prior to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We weren't close, this uncle.
Yeah.
He was very, very estranged to me and my mother. And when he passed away, his friend told us that the house was going to charity. We'll let you come in so you can get whatever pictures or personal effects that you want,
Yeah.
whatever. But there's a will, it's taken care of. Okay. I feel my mother and my grandmother in January. And at the end of January, my mother calls me while I'm at work. And it's some like 10 or 11 times. Look at it, and I see that many messages. I'm like, something bad is happening.
Yeah.
Call her back. Call her back immediately. And she goes, I'm being sued for back taxes. I'm like, what? So there was no will. We were lied to.
Oh, oh gosh.
And I think that it's so interesting the way that it all happens.
Yeah.
You know, I'm also, as a martial artist, you get into a little bit of like philosophical or ethereal
Well, I was
aspects,
going to ask you
you
that.
know.
Like, you started out with this journey of martial arts to as a way to, basically survive. But, after so many years, I imagine that your connection with spirit, with your own intuition,
Hmm.
higher self,
Hmm.
with just being able to read energy or pick up on things must have
Oh yeah.
really grown, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it starts as a victim. You know, if
Hmm.
you're a 9-year old kid and you're in a house with your abuser,
Yeah.
you learn to be very quiet,
You learned, yeah,
to
you learned to
listen,
read energy.
read, read energy, read the room. Is he having a bad day? Do I need to stay away? Do I need
Yeah.
to stay outside? You know, so I think it started there, but yeah, I definitely I would say that martial arts is a part of my spiritual practice as much as it is a part of a physical practice.
Yeah. So you're writing a book, yes?
I am,
And
I am.
when's it going to be out?
I am hoping to have it the first draft finished by summer, and I'm on track. I'm on chapter 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Um, the chapters are not conventionally numbered. The first chapter is cottage cheese, and then the second chapter is white belt, and they go all the way through black belt, and then the chapter after black belt is cottage cheese with pineapple. So, you know,
I was just talking with somebody about cottage cheese and pineapple the other day.
that's very interesting.
It is
That's very
very
interesting.
interesting. Too funny. Oh, so
Well,
okay,
martial arts is taught with a lot of metaphor, and
yeah,
so cottage cheese and then cottage cheese and pineapple is kind of a metaphor that
it's a
we,
thing, huh? Okay.
yes, yeah,
Too funny. Awesome. Well, okay, so the book is coming at some point.
yeah. Book is coming. Hopefully, end of the year, first of next year.
Amazing. And so right now you're teaching out of Louisville, Kentucky, correct?
Yes,
And
teaching out of Louisville, Kentucky, in
yeah.
a bunch of rehabs, community centers, teaching for an LGBTQ group. Uh, in the process of getting my own space for my own school again. And I'm doing a podcast on martial arts as well.
Okay, great. And is that you'll be providing links for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, great. And so you're obviously, the martial arts artist artwork that you teach is in person. And
Hmm.
but this podcast, tell us a little bit more about it. What's it going to really be including as far as topics?
So my podcast is called Keep Kicking Podcast. You can find it on YouTube and Spotify. We talk about everything,
Hmm.
literally everything. Um, Martial arts practitioners in the United States are 3% of the population. And I am of the fundamental opinion that the world would be a better place if everybody took at least 6 months of martial arts. And I'm not saying that everybody has to fight, because there's more reasons to do martial arts,
Yeah.
but a good movement practice helps everybody.
Yeah.
And so we talk philosophy, jujitsu, like anything and everything.
Yeah.
I've been doing martial arts for 32 years and I've been teaching for 28. It's
Yeah.
about to be 33 and 29, but um because I've been doing it so long, I've like kind of had the buffet. I've tasted everything. And so I can have conversations with people that are outside of styles that I'm not ranked in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we do. And I've been using that as a platform for my trauma informed martial arts.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a series of articles. The first one's coming out this month. And the idea is push an article out with a podcast
Yeah.
where I have guests on that talk about the subject. The first one is on how we can make martial arts schools better by not sexualizing the art and not making it a boys' club,
Yeah.
make it more inclusive for women. And I am going to do something that not most men do, which is I'm going to have women come on my podcast and I'm going to listen instead of speak. So,
This is so good. I mean, honestly, like how many martial artists that you know are leading themselves as trauma informed? I mean, that's something totally new. I mean, you're the first person I've ever talked to that really um it's yeah, so it's fantastic and I really think
mhm.
that you're touching in on something that is powerful. I mean, it's probably never been done, I'm guessing.
Well, everything's always been done, but
Well,
I
at
have
least
I have
maybe
I have
speaking
an
about it a
instructor.
different way.
I have an instructor who says it will never be done the way that you're going to do it to your audience.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome.
yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for
Thank
this
you.
amazing, I mean, just amazing story, your amazing spirit. I mean, really, what you've overcome and what you share, the light that you share, and um, yeah, just the fact that you are touching so many lives. I know that, and so it's really been an honor to have you on this podcast, this YouTube channel, and everyone that's watching, please like, share, subscribe. Definitely share this with anyone that you think it would be helpful to hear, and please check out Paul's podcast. It sounds amazing. So,
Thank you.
all right. Well, thanks everybody. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And we'll talk again soon.
Yeah.